She ran away on her wedding day. The entire village of Umuagu stood frozen in shock as Adaize lifted her white wedding gown and disappeared down the dusty forest road, barefoot. Women screamed loudly. Drummers stopped playing instantly. Children ran after her in confusion. "What happened?" villagers shouted. "Why is the bride running?" But Adaize did not stop. Tears poured down her face as fear pushed her legs faster through the bush path. Behind her, angry voices echoed through the village square. "Adaize!" Her husband-to-be, Emeka, roared furiously. "Bring her back!" Only a few minutes earlier, everything had looked perfect. The village was full of celebration. Colorful canopies covered the compound. Musicians played loudly while women danced joyfully with trays of food balanced on their heads. Adaize was the pride of the village. Beautiful, calm, and respectful. And Emeka, her husband-to-be, was rich, handsome, and generous. People envied her greatly. "She has hit jackpot," women whispered. "Her suffering has ended forever." Even Adaize believed she was lucky. Emeka bought her expensive jewelry, promised her a mansion in Lagos, and showered her family with gifts and money. But deep inside her heart, something never felt completely right. Sometimes Emeka disappeared mysteriously for days. Sometimes his eyes looked strangely cold. And whenever Adaize asked questions about his business, he would simply smile and say, "My work is not for ordinary people to understand." Still, she ignored the warning signs because everybody around her kept praising his wealth. Then, on the morning of the wedding, something strange happened. As women decorated Adaize with beads and makeup inside her room, an old woman entered quietly. Nobody knew where she came from. Her wrapper looked dusty and old, and she leaned heavily on a walking stick. The old woman stared deeply at Adaize before speaking softly. "Child, do you truly know the man you want to marry?" The room became silent immediately. Adaize forced a nervous smile. "Mama, today is my wedding day." The old woman moved closer and secretly placed a small leather pouch into Adaize's palm. "Open this when the sun stands above your head," she whispered carefully. "And if you love your life, run." Before anyone could ask questions, the woman disappeared into the crowd outside. Adaize became uneasy, but she hid the pouch inside her wrapper. Hours later, the wedding ceremony began. Villagers danced happily while Emeka stood proudly beside her wearing expensive white clothes. Then, none came. Adaize suddenly remembered the pouch. Her hands trembled as she opened it secretly beneath her wrapper. Inside was a tiny mirror. Confused, she looked into it. At first, she saw only her reflection. Then suddenly, Emeka's reflection changed completely. His handsome face disappeared. His eyes turned red like burning fire. His skin became dark and cracked like dry earth. And behind him stood shadowy figures holding human bones. Adaize almost screamed. At that moment, memories rushed into her mind. Rumors of missing travelers, whispers about rich men using dark powers for wealth. Stories nobody dared say loudly. Fear gripped her chest tightly. Then the mirror cracked suddenly in her hand. A strange whisper came from nowhere. "Run!" Without thinking twice, Adaeze grabbed her gown and fled from the ceremony. The villagers watched in disbelief as she disappeared toward the forest. Emeka's face darkened with anger. For a brief second, some people claimed his eyes flashed red before returning to normal. Thunder roared loudly, though the sky had been clear moments earlier. Adaeze kept running until she reached the old shrine near the river. There, the mysterious old woman waited calmly beside the water. "You escaped death today," the woman said softly. Adaeze collapsed to her knees crying. "Who are you?" she whispered shakily. The old woman smiled sadly. "I was once a bride like you." Suddenly, strong wind blew across the shrine and the old woman vanished slowly like smoke into the air. Days later, terrible news spread across nearby villages. Emeka disappeared mysteriously the same night Adaeze ran away. Some people claimed evil spirits dragged him into the forest. Others believed authorities discovered terrible secrets connected to him and several missing people. Nobody ever saw him again. From that day, elders in Omuagu always warned young women. Not every rich man with a sweet smile carries good intentions. Sometimes evil hides behind gold, fine clothes, and soft words. Until today, people still remember Adaeze, the bride who ran away on her wedding day and saved her own life.